So I was in my secondary on my mission with my second companion in the area, and we had gotten permission to go to this kind of scenic area near where I live called the Catlins. Beautiful. We wanted to go and see a couple of waterfalls that were there, and my mission president very expressly told us not to go on the beach. That was one of his big things, and we were good. We really wanted to see sea lions. We got really lucky that one had come off the beach and was on the road near where we were, but while we were going to see one of the waterfalls, there was a picture that I really wanted to get, and it required going on a couple of rocks that were wet with water because they were on the river that the waterfall was coming down and feeding. And as I stepped from one rock to another with them wet, I slipped and fell and cut my leg open. And I was wearing jeans, and so I didn't think I'd gotten anything from the rock. It didn't tear my jeans or anything like that. And so we went home at the end of the day, got it cleaned up, and I just kind of went on my business. It had swollen up a little bit, which I was kind of expecting. I hit it pretty hard. And then I just kind of kept working for about a month, and it was still swollen. The cut it had scabbed over, it hadn't fully healed. And I started getting these fevers and shakes and realizing that something was wrong, but we had training to go to. And so we went to training. And while we were at training, my leg, the scab just kind of opened up again, and it turned white, and like this big like ball of like pus and grossness like was on my leg. And I realized I had a problem then and needed to get it fixed. But we had a day and a half of training to do and no doctors in that town. So I stayed through training. Went home, with my companion, and was not doing well. My fever had really started to hit, and I called up a couple of members, and they directed me to one of the doctors in the ward who was a gynecologist, but was willing to come help regardless. And so he came in and looked at my leg and was like, "Yep, that's infected." And I know that, and got antibiotics, and I spent 3 weeks on antibiotics. I did 28 days of antibiotics, 3 full courses of it. And in that time, a couple of days after I got the first round of antibiotics, he had to come in and drain the infection. So he put a local anesthetic in, and then he just cut it open and just squeezed all the pus out. And we just did this in the flat. We did it in our apartment. We didn't go to the hospital. I didn't do that for any of this. And I had to then go in and disinfect it 3 times a day after that. And he gave me an antiseptic that when I read the instructions, it was supposed to be diluted 10-1, and he was with water, and he said, just do it straight. And so I had that happen the whole time. And I had a companion during that time that didn't speak any English. It was a second transfer. He was from Samoa. And I had to teach him English in that time. We barely got to talk, though, because I was sick and he didn't speak the language. And then, after a while, though, we got it set up, and it was a pretty awful experience. I got phone calls from my mission president, from district leaders asking when I was going to be able to go back to work, and I didn't know when I was going to be able to go back to work. And my mission president called my doctor, and they talked for a while. And I found this out several months later, after everything had healed up. Right before I left the area, I was having dinner at the doctor's house because he was a member. And he kind of, we were telling my companion about it at the time. It was a different companion. He said, it wasn't the worst infection I've ever seen, but it was pretty bad. And then proceeded to tell me that he had been worried for a period of time that it would spread to the bone, and that had it done that, there would have been some sort of amputation necessary. And so I got very lucky, apparently, as a result of that. So that's kind of the whole story.